Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so great to be with all of you today. It is Friday. Thank you, Jesus, March 7th. And we have quite a show for you today. Once again, we are welcoming into the Joy Virtual Studio our very good friend, Paul Stone. He is the CEO of Colonial Metals Group, a very valued sponsor of the Shannon Joy Show. He will also be one of our guest panelists on March 29th for the Summit for Truth and Wellness. We are bringing in an absolutely unbelievable lineup of medical doctors and experts, Dr. Pierre Corey, Dr. Naomi Wolf. We're bringing Aaron Day on the panel, Sasha Latapova, and are so blessed to bring Paul Stone to Rochester, New York. So we're going to get to Paul in just a moment. He is a financial expert. He has written the book on going off the gold standard during the Nixon years. He is, an amazing wealth of information. And we're going to cover the Bitcoin reserve scam, China dominance, looming tariffs, and budget boondoggles. The question today is, how can the little guy survive? You and me, not the political class, not the billionaire class, not the, Silicon Valley tech bros, the people who are at the receiving end of so many of the disastrous policies that are stripping us of our liberty and our wealth and prosperity, and even our relationships with our loved ones. It's all about you. It's all about we, the people. And so many in my position, influencers, though I don't call myself an influencer or consider myself an influencer, seem to forget, those basic elements. And so we're going to talk about you today, hopefully spend a lot of time today in Q&A. Paul is here to answer your questions about the coming storm and how to protect yourself and remain solvent and even thrive. So this is going to be another very important show, and I want you guys to keep it tuned right here. But before we get to Paul, and he is warming up in the bullpen, he's ready to go, and I so appreciate him giving me a little bit of time today to give a tribute. And I'm going to have a hard time getting through this without crying. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, guys. Blake C. Smith, who is just a treasured member of our medical freedom community. Those of you who have come together, we came together in 2020 and 2021 to protest the lockdowns and the masks and the mandates and the forced and coerced vaccines. And I stood with so many hundreds of you, and sometimes even thousands, in 2021 to stand up for the nurses and the doctors and the hospital workers who are being fired at Strong Memorial Hospital here in Rochester, New York. And on Elmwood Avenue, we came together every single week. And I want to say I might have done 24 protests with all of you, maybe 36, but there was a remnant. There was a group of advocates who loved liberty that we called the remnant. And they protested. They stood outside that hospital every Monday from 3 to 5 p.m. for 52 straight weeks to stand up for truth and freedom and liberty and basic common decency. And Blake C. Smith was one of those remnants, one of those precious people that I value so much. Blake was kind-hearted. He was selfless. He was rich in friendship. He had so many very good friends. He was a helper, a gentle soul, and he loved liberty. He loved America. And in his own humble way, just by showing up, he was a hero. And I am really blessed to have stood with Blake and his dear friend Bill, who sent me his, the memorial, and we will have something for him, a gathering over the summer. And all of you, like everything about this show and everything about what we do, guys, it's really not about me. It's not about the politicians. It's about you. It's about you in your own corner of the world, doing what you can to pursue liberty and to become independent and to take care of not only yourself, but your neighbors. And it's a little different in every community. And here in Rochester, we had Blake, and we will miss him dearly. I hope to I have a little video of what we all did. And I can't tell you I can't wait to see all of you again at the summit, by the way, on March 29th, when many of you will be there and we will come together again to just reaffirm our friendship and our commitment to liberty. But I don't ever want to forget what we fought for in those days. You know, COVID-19 and the lockdowns has been erased from political discourse, but I assure you I'll never forget, and I will never forget all of you. And so this is for Blake and Bill and the church ladies and Laura Jean and all Erica, all of the people who came out and stood for freedom and stood up for their fellow man. This is for Blake. Blake, may you rest in peace. Annie, would you please run our video, and then we'll go straight to break, and then we'll bring Paul. One is the United States of America. Those are Americans. That's you and me. These are our people. We don't have to be defined by politicians or people in Washington, D.C. It is those wonderful, beautiful faces that you just saw that I had the blessing to stand beside for so many days, so many children, moms and dads and grandparents. Let's never forget that, right? When politics tries to tear us apart. So, Blake C. Smith, thank you for your humble service. May you rest in peace. You were valued and you were loved by this community. So let's bring in our guest for today, Paul Stone. Sorry, I don't know if you I'm tearing up through that thing. I don't mean to pull at the heartstrings before we start, but thank you so much for being with us today. And I hope we can learn a lot from you.
Heartstrings always make the best music, Shannon. Don't they?
Well, those faces, I wanted to play that whole video because a lot of those faces, I mean, you're going to meet on March 29th at the Summit for Truth and Wellness. We're expanding it out from just medicine and health and moving into finance and some of those areas, the technocracy that people are going to struggle with. But I wanted everyone to see their faces too. I mean, it was a reaction of people to something that was wicked and wrong. And we can sense as Americans, we know when something is wrong, right?
Yeah. Because we started out a country with a lot going on that was right. And we've noticed that deterioration over the last many decades. And now it's at that boiling point where we're really raising up. You can just see it. Swing states voting for, an ass kicker from outside of Washington, D.C. Political system. People are saying, well, out of the choices we got, we're going to choose something that sounds, bold and strong rather than weak and wandering.
Well, and the topic today, we are in incredibly tumultuous, confusing, and complicated times, right? I tend to believe that the war was really declared with COVID-19, and they attacked our bodies and our relationships and our economy and our systems. But I think we're still, I don't think that we're out of the woods yet. I think we're kind of right in the middle. And the next big thing is going to be finance, the economy, currencies, money. And this is why we're expanding the summit to include some of these topics, because I do believe that people are going to be dramatically influenced by what we're seeing today. And unfortunately, with the announcement yesterday of a new Bitcoin reserve, government reserve by the Trump administration, the tariff wars, the budget boondoggle. Daniel Horowitz just had Tom Massey on his program a couple of days ago. There will be no government spend. I mean, there will be no cuts. The Doge sounds really great, but when it comes to the actual budget, it looks like it is going to be spend and print, spend and print, spend and print. And so we're just going to barrel towards this. The good news is that we have a massive movement, Paul, for transactional gold and silver. 22 states across the country, Utah, Montana leading the way, with Florida and Texas close behind. We have legislative efforts at the state level for gold reserves, and we have gold and silver really holding steady. It's amazing. The president announces a government reserve, a Bitcoin reserve, right? And it should have the impact of sending the Bitcoin value, through the roof. But Bitcoin dropped 5,000 after that announcement because people are doggedly sticking to the real thing, gold and silver. Let's start with your just kind of overall umbrella assessment about where we're going and the resiliency of gold and silver right now.
Well, sure, great. Yeah, it's one of the main things people are having to try and understand. That's probably very confusing to most, of strategic cryptocurrency reserve. These are man-made, these are not currencies that are used for anything. You can't buy anything. Really, you'd have to sell out of it, in most places. I guess some vendors are hooked up through an app or hooked up online to directly take a crypto. But, if I want to buy something, generally, I'm going to have to sell out of that crypto and into the dollar and then make the transaction happen. Same as I'd have to sell my house if I wanted money or sell an investment. I'd come to cash. And, I want to just say I'm no licensed financial advisor. I'm not a trained economist. I take a farmer's approach to looking at this. I've studied the heck out of it as best I can. And I was always hoping that, should I run across or say something that's completely inaccurate, I would hope someone would correct me. I haven't had anyone yet supply me with any altering information. I haven't seen anyone come to the podium at the Federal Reserve and kind of say, hey, guys, there's a lot of noise out there about rushing to gold and silver. You guys don't need to do that. We got this. Here's the steps. Here's the plan. Here's how it's going to be awesome in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. Here's how we're not going to have to print another dollar. Right. Here's how your government's going to start balancing back to a realistic size and not continue to grow. Here's how your government's not going to just hire government workers to cheat the unemployment number and make it look good when they talk about it from the podium.
Right,
But
right.
it's done any of that, right? So
Yeah.
now it's the strategic Bitcoin reserve with currencies that don't do anything.
Right,
They
right.
go up, they go down in value. So what do we need a reserve for? A national reserve? And what I've been reading is it just starts with currency they've seized
Right.
from illegal ventures.
Crypto is such a scam. You don't have to say it. I'll say it for you. It is a pyramid scheme, total scam. And really the only way that it can survive Bitcoin or any of the tokens at this point, I think, is if the iron boot of the federal government shoves it down our throats and forces us to use some sort of government backed crypto device, whether it's Bitcoin, stablecoin, Tether, you name it. It really is, Peter Schiff came out yesterday calling for a congressional investigation into the pump and dump. So a lot of really questionable actions by the president over the weekend, where he tweeted out about this new crypto reserve, and about the tokens and the coins that he mentioned skyrocketed, went through the roof. People took their profits and then dumped them. And Peter's like, if you did this with in the markets, you would be arrested, thrown in prison, and convicted of insider trading or fraud. But here we have it, on display from this administration and all administrations, really. So this is, but what is really heartening to me, though, is despite that, like I said, Bitcoin is dropping in value, and that is because I think that there is a general, people get this. People are beginning to get this. And in the show notes, I have, guys, for you, a Substack written by Paul Stone. It's excellent. I want to encourage you guys to follow Paul on his Substack, but also a very important conversation between our friend Daniel Horowitz and Kevin Freeman about the unstoppable transactional gold movement. It is one of the only solutions, and you guys will be, you'll end that conversation when you listen to the full interview. You'll be excited, because I don't think their plans are working. I think they want to fleece us. They want to, clearly, the dollar is collapsing and inflation is going to go through the roof, and tariffs, are just going to make it worse. But I think that there are enough people who kind of know what's going on, and they're just not falling for the Bitcoin stuff or the digital stuff.
Well, it's hard to connect to something that has no real utilization, no transactional utilization in our lives, in our world where we are.
Right.
I don't necessarily know what the human race decides and I guess creates whatever Bitcoin's utilization eventually is. That's a mystery.
Yeah.
But when you look at times of uncertainty, if you just try to throw a clear, simple lens on this, on this subject matter, it's the world becomes more and more uncertain, not more and more certain. There's more and more confusion. There's less and less clarity. Where can I find clarity? And financially speaking, that's a huge pillar of anyone's existence today, unless you want to go, live off the land. So if you're not going to do that, you're in the world of commerce. And in the world of commerce, clarity is something known, something proven, something has a track record, something that's literally your financial property, portable, can't be made in a lab, and the government doesn't really want anything to do with it. And that's why gold and silver is the thing. It's the thing. There's platinum and palladium, the other two of the four precious metals, but they've never been considered monetary. They've never been used as money. And so gold and silver gets all the attention.
Well, and what's
By
really
design, that's nothing else can fit that bill.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and what's exciting, the best thing that Trump can do, and this is, everything's up in the air. We really don't know where this is going to go. Clearly, he's being lobbied heavily by BlackRock people and his advisors and Bitcoin people to take a certain path at the federal level. But what's really interesting about today is that there is this massive movement at the state and local level that is mature, like it's happening. And so the best thing that we can look for, at least politically speaking, I think, is for Trump to just sit back and let it happen, right? Not throw any federal complications in there. But, the Constitution of the United States of America says that gold and silver shall be the only legal tender in the U.S., or considered the only legal tender. So that is, that solution. And Let's just get into it. Let's go to break quick. And when we come back, let's get into questions, right? Because we always, we talk and talk and talk and talk, and then we have to like
Yeah.
fly through questions at the end.
Uh,
And I really like the idea of just the nuts and bolts of gold and silver in a couple different ways. First, in the area of, how do you use gold and silver to protect or hedge against market fluctuations, chaos, and government corruption, and inflation, that type of stuff, or even a collapse. And then the value and benefit of gold and silver, or backing your retirement with gold and silver. So whether it's an IRA, 401k, or pension, how that can work for you. And then gold and silver that you hold physically, right, in your home or in a safety deposit box. Like how does that work for you too? And so let's go into those nuts and bolts with you when we come back. And I'm looking at the live chat, guys, all caps if you can, and keep it in context. But Paul is here to answer your questions. So any questions you have about the market, the currency, the economy, like I said, he wrote the book on Nixon and the gold standard. So he's an expert on these topics. So use him while he's with us today, so that you guys can also get some clarity. Of course, we are thankful. We want to disclose that Colonial Metals Group is a sponsor of the Shannon Joy Show. And it's because, well, I love what they do, and they don't hire jerks, as Paul likes to say. So if you're interested in working with them and devising a metals strategy, it would mean so much to me if you went to colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy. That's my hashtag. That's how they can find me. And it lets them know that we sent you from here in the Shannon Joy Show. So Paul, are you ready for questions? We already have a couple lined up. So we're good. Like, we're only 20 minutes into the show, and we're going to get to questions right away. And then we'll talk about other aspects as well. So Paul Stone is with us today. We'll be back in a moment to continue this discussion right here on the Shannon Joy Show.
Attention American business owners, big or small, your company deserves to be seen, and Patriot TV is here to help. We're proud to support American-owned businesses by offering a free listing of your company on Patriot TV Store. That's right. No cost, just visibility to millions of loyal viewers who want to support American businesses like yours. Whether you run a small business or a nationwide company, this is your chance to reach a dedicated audience on Patriot TV Store, on major smart TVs like Samsung, LG, Sony, TCL, Roku, also on Apple, Android, Amazon, Fire Stick, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, Truth Social, X, and of course, the Patriot TV Store app and website. It's our way of giving back to the community and helping American businesses thrive. Let's work together to build a stronger America. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity. Get your free business listing today. Contact us at info@patriot.tv.
If you're about to replace your roof, stop. There's a solution about 80% less expensive. 9 out of 10 roofs can be saved by RoofMax. Guaranteed to extend the life of your current roof by 5 to 15 years at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. RoofMax's deep penetrating power restores flexibility and water protection. Nobody wants to replace their roof. Restore it instead with RoofMax for 80% less. Call now for a free roof inspection.
Shannon Joy here with an urgent retirement warning. Trade tensions, tariffs, and China's relentless attack on the US dollar have rattled the markets. This is why Warren Buffett just dumped $133 billion in stocks. And so has Jeff Bezos, Larry Page, and even Jamie Dimon, CEO of the world's largest bank. Just recently, Rich Dad, Poor Dad author Robert Kiyosaki warned of a coming market crash. This is why thousands of informed IRA and 401k savers are now shielding their savings with gold. And the experts at Colonial Metals Group are the only folks I trust to help you do the exact same. Visit www.colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy or call 888-705-0950. You'll get a free gold guide on how to bulletproof your wealth with gold tax-free. Plus, see if you qualify for a free home safe and as much as $7,500 in free silver. Once again, that's www.colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy or call 888-705-0950 to protect your wealth today. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. And as you guys know, I have a kind of new morning routine. Every single morning, the same thing. The first rule for me is absolutely no phone, no social media when I wake up for 2 full hours, right? But I also do my biblical reading, so chronological, my push-ups and my sit-ups. And as you also know, a major part of my morning routine is my collagen. It is something that I've been using for many years, and I've been using the Native Path collagen for over a year. It is my absolute favorite. It's elegant. It dissolves easily in my coffee every morning. The price point is unbelievable right now. 45% off Native Path collagen. You can stock up. This is a deal just for the Shannon Joy Show audience. So if you go to getnativepathcollagen.com/joy, that's getnativepathcollagen.com/joy. I mean it when I tell you this is the best deal out there. There are no other deals out there like this. They're doing this just for the Shannon Joy audience, and you can stock up just like me. It's great for your hair, your nails, your skin, and also your joints and your flexibility, all the things. You lose your collagen as you age, and so you have to put it back in there. So Native Path Collagen. Let's bring back Paul Stone into the Joy Virtual Studio. Hey, Paul, how are you? The CEO of Colonial Metals Group, and we have questions. We have some questions on the live chat about the market volatility. Anything that you want to get off your chest before we go to questions? Anything that is interesting to you that you want people to know about regarding the markets, tariffs, China, anything like that?
Yeah, I guess maybe a good new point to mention, or, you know, I try to find things that are mathematical, of course. Math being a language that can't lie, lies can't be written in mathematics, right? So if we just look plainly at the math, we're looking at truth. We're just immediately looking at truth. And so you want to think like, well, is Trump going to like cut taxes, but the debt ceiling has to go up? The $2 trillion they said they were going to cut from the budget sounded like that was going to happen in a 1-year budget, is now spread out over 10 years.
Right.
You know, why, when Musk is standing at Madison Square Garden saying, I'm certain we can cut $2 trillion from the budget. I could say, I'm certain I could cut 20 trillion from the budget over 100 years.
Right.
You know? So
Right.
when you say it that way, it means, well, they're going to clean up the government. Government's going to shrink. Well, why couldn't they do it?
Right.
Because 30% of our financial world is driven by government printing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had a bakery or something that makes something every day, and you had like 10 workers, and then the government gave you 3 more workers, that's an increase but you don't have to pay for them. They work for free.
Mm-hmm.
So your bakery would be able to grow, right? You'd have 3 more workers, 30% more workers, no costs on those workers, and no known costs. You don't have to pay them.
Yeah.
So your bakery would put out more stuff than it actually can with the 10 workers you have to pay. Right. Now the government's saying, well, Trump and the administration comes in and says, we're going to take those 3 workers away because they're false. They're fake. They're not real. Mm-hmm. And you go, oh, well, how am I going to keep my production levels up?
Right.
My finances are now based off a 13 employee, 3 I don't even have to pay for sized workforce. Now I'm going back to a 10 size workforce.
Right.
There would be pain.
Yeah.
There would be maybe some bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Maybe you wouldn't have enough product and people get mad and complain. They go find another bakery and you lose customers. Mm-hmm. So what they realized, which outsiders from Washington may not notice, and I'm not lecturing, but what they realized is, oh my God, even though the government's wasting a ton of this money, the way we would look at how money should be respected, mm-hmm. it's still being spent in America. Right. And it's still propping up our economy. Yeah. And if they stop propping up, the government stops the printing press, it stops propping up our economy goes where it wanted to go back in 2008, which is into a depression.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's scary as hell. The government is 30%. During COVID, it was around 50% from what I've studied. 50% of your economy was the government printing money. Today, it's around 30%. Back when Reagan was president, I believe it was around 15. Yeah. And he had the crisis that really started with Nixon inheriting this wild inflation that put Carter's political career in a grave. So 30% of your economy, just keep that in mind. So anytime you see the talking heads on these financial news stories, and I'll shut up, you're probably regretting asking me if I want to.
No, I know. I'm learning.
Questions. But I laugh. I see them. I won't say what show, but I was watching them this morning. I check in from time to time, and they're saying, they're saying, so the economy's been so resilient since COVID. It was so resilient during COVID. And now the Atlanta Fed is forecasting a 3% GDP contraction for the second quarter of the year. And do you think that's right? Like they're asking, like, do you think they got the math right?
Oh my
Our
God.
economy's been so resilient, right? Take away the printed money and you don't have an economy.
It's true.
The market goes up, your real estate goes up, jobs stay intact, payrolls go up some, but the whole system, if 30% of your economy is coming from fake money,
Yep.
then you don't have one that actually is working on its own.
Right.
It's on life support. And your money, your savings is in that dollar. Like your financial religion, because you're speaking louder with your choices than you might with what you'd complain about. Oh, the government, oh, the print of the dollar's dying, but your money's still in the dollar, isn't it? Your retirement savings is still in the dollar. So that's your religion because that's what you're choosing. When you choose to leave the dollar for something else, gold and silver is a pretty good option, then you have a new religion. You are now actually choosing to leave the man-made financial world with some of your savings, right? To be brave, which I think all the gods we might choose to call God and all the different versions of religions admire us when we have courage and fortitude and resilience personally and not expecting others to go keep us safe.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I just think I think this is inevitable. This is the fundamentals.
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable. The fundamentals are so messed up, and they have pumped into this economy with printed money in a variety of different ways for so many years, so many decades, that I think they know. Trump knows, his administration, I think everyone knows that we're moving towards something. And that is why they are really trying to pimp out this new crypto, this, petro gold-backed crypto reserve, because they'd really like to put us all on tokens. They'd like to put us all on essentially food stamps. Government, if you think that the government is able to manipulate dollars too much or manipulate markets too much, get ready, buckle up, wait till they try to put you on a token or a digital food stamp, which is what the central banking digital currency or the private banking digital currency is. It's over. It's over. They can give it to you. They can take it away. They can turn it on. They can turn it off. If an EMP attack accounts, like your whole account is done. If they put it on AI and there's a glitch and you lose all your money, like who are you going to go to? You're going to have a chat bot to talk to try to get your money back. It's crazy. That's what they want. So right now we're in this like tectonic moment where the population of people globally are saying, we're not really into this. We don't want coins in Bitcoin, but the governments are really trying to push us in there. And this is where I think the gold strategy becomes just incredibly important. And to your point, Daniel Horowitz gave this example. He added up all of the government bennies, the payouts from COVID, right? Remember they shut us all down,
right?
And they gave everyone $1,000 check or a $2,000 check. So the average family under a certain threshold of income got about $11,000 total from the federal government as a benefit in 2020. He said, in exchange for that, the printing of money, trillions of dollars printed, like it was breathtaking how much Trump and then Biden printed in that time. The resulting inflation on everything, because they printed that money, was $14,000 per year per family for the subsequent 5 years or 4 years, right? Like, this is the crappy deal that they keep giving us, Paul.
Yeah. When they print, they drive costs higher.
That's it.
It's like, I won't throw an analogy here, but that's it.
Yeah,
when they print, costs go higher. So they have to print more. And the costs go higher then again. And then they print even more and the costs go higher. And that's why it's just lunacy.
It is.
This is where the framers would have said, make sure you are required to make sure the financial system stays devoid of lunacy.
Yeah.
And I also think maybe this is why they never came up with term limits.
Yeah.
Because let's say you were my representative in the Finger Lakes region of New York. If we all loved you Why would we want to not be able to reelect you each
Right.
time you came up for reelection? Why would we, if you were the most awesome representative for our part of the world, why would we want to not be able to get you any longer to do this great job you're doing because you termed out?
Right.
Who are we going to get next? I think they didn't care much, and this is just me suspecting, about term limits because they never understood one day there would be a Microsoft Excel where the Federal Reserve, and they didn't even know there'd be a Federal Reserve because it's not a federal agency. It's not as federal as Federal Express.
Yeah.
And so they didn't understand that could happen one day down the road. I guess they didn't understand too much about what banks really could grow into. They thought of a bank as a vault.
Right.
So if the government can't hook itself up to its own financial power supply and grow beyond what the loudness of our voice, you see those protesters there, but where did their voices fall? On deaf ears.
Yeah.
Because the government became so massive.
Yep.
And now you have these career politicians who just continue to manipulate things for themselves and the corporate dealings that they, meet with all throughout the week. They don't meet with us during the week. They meet with corporations and lobbyists.
That's right.
I don't think they understood that one day there could be a financial world that is outside of reality on Mother Earth's planet. It's never conceived of that.
Yeah, we're fully human here on the Shannon Joy Show. 100% organic human. Never thought I would have to, tell people that on my show. Like in the world of AI, we're talking to Paul Stone. He is the founder CEO of Colonial Metals Group, and I encourage you to follow his Substack and follow him on Twitter. His handle is @the_Paul Stone. Let's go to questions. All right. We have great questions on the live chat. And I want to welcome all of you on the live chat. Buskman is with us. CM1968 is with us. Bill Benz, I see your question about the Summit for Truth and Wellness and the Delphi technique. And I'll answer it a little later, but I don't want to waste Paul's time. So we're going to go right to the gold questions. Buskman asks this, please. Paul, explain the process of backing a 401k with precious metals and why it matters and why it's important to do so. How does that protect people?
Sure. I mean, we'll start backwards to forwards. The theory, if folks are theorizing that they are uncertainties, this erosion, the dollar, if you thought of the dollar as this steel in your financial system, the girders, right, that everything hangs off of, and it's weakened by 97%, how much longer can everything hang off that dollar, that steel girder system, right? So if things crater and I'm in that dollar, then I suffer damage too. But if I've left, right, if I'm on the left side of the street and that's where the damage will occur, and I go across to the right side of the street, now I'm in gold and silver, then that damage doesn't affect gold and silver, historically speaking, because it's not of the dollar. It's outside of that man-made financial world, right? So we'd want to relocate savings away from these risks. Where could they go? You could buy an apartment building. You could buy, 40,000 feet of copper pipe. You could buy whatever you come up with. You could buy stuff. You could own some stuff that would have some kind of resale value or some kind of immediate liquidity. Getting out of gold and silver turns back to whatever money you want: Canadian dollars, Mexican pesos, the dollar, the euro, the pound, whatever, you can turn that and sell it into anything. But you can carry it around with you. So the reason for gold and silver today, from what people tell me and share with me when they're on the phone with us, is all of these reasons of government failing them and kind of cheating to prop up an economy's experience that isn't real. It's like a video game. And they think that video game breaks down someday, and then they're broke along with the government that's broke, and they don't want to suffer that.
Right.
So we work with physical gold and silver, not certificates, not some paper promise. So we then want to look outside of the electronic versions of gold and silver. We want, something that would be in a safe at home or in a depository. So it's real. Because it's real, it has to be guarded and secured and, looked after. And when it comes to the 401k piece of the question, 401k IRA, those are generally the accounts people have left. If we were talking 20 years ago, people would have those and investment accounts, brokerage accounts, if sometimes they're called. So they had they had started up different savings accounts for retirement. As the tough financial times have ground down on people, they've had to liquidate from wherever those accounts were, and all they have left are the IRAs and 401ks. And so because that's your big bulk money that you have pooled together for retirement, there's nothing special really about the account itself in the way that that's just where you would have put your money. And so to protect your, 10, instead of just protecting $10 in your pocket, you're protecting $100,000 in your retirement savings, or $1 million or whatever you have saved.
Right.
And then you think, but I can't get to that money without paying an income tax. Right. So the money, though, can move to a non-bank custodian, which is the original 1970s version of an IRA custodian that you could own land in. You could own rental properties in. You could own mineral rights in. You could trade. If you were a cattle rancher, you could own the cattle in your IRA and sell it when it turns to steak and the money comes back to you, and that goes into your IRA. You own a fixer-upper, or when it's time to fix up a rental property, the money can come out of the IRA to pay the contractors to fix the place up.
Yeah.
You sell the place, the money stays in your IRA. Peter Thiel is one of the best examples, started PayPal and big Trump supporter. But he has a $5 billion IRA. He had pre-IPO, pre-publicly traded PayPal stock in this type of IRA account before it became popular 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So there's things you can do with this version of the IRA account you don't seem to be able to do with other types of accounts. So we fill out forms for you, assign them. The money moves that you want to move over to your new IRA account. Then a conversation happens about gold and silver, whatever makes sense to you. Is your portfolio is born, and that ships into your IRA account with the relationship to a depository, which don't have anything to do with states or the financial world. That's in a red state, so it's either in North Dakota, Idaho, or Texas. Those are the ones that get the most fanfare by customers.
Okay.
So, and those are also states that think very kindly about gold and silver, have some military, installations there that, if they ever thought, don't mess with Texas, and someone was messing with Texas, and the Fort Hood armed up and protected Texas and the National Guard,
Right.
You just think like, where's the safest place for my money? And you go all the way down the road until you're sleeping peacefully at night. It's in metal. You own it. It's insured. It's guarded. It's in a red state. Can be shipped to you at any time. If you had to ride a horse over there to get it.
Right. Well, I like them all. I mean, I advocate holding physical gold and silver, like the actual stuff. And then, in terms of the depositories, in fact, Kevin, I believe it was Kevin Freeman, he's the author of Pirate Money, and he's leading that movement for gold as a legal tender across the country, said that there are Brinks depositories. I mean, there are depositories all over the country, and they're backed by Lloyd's of London. And so that's really what backs up. So when you say paper gold, there are gold derivatives, right? So there are stocks that are traded on what they think the value of gold or silver will be. So mining stocks, or that kind of that area of the gold and silver genre. And you're not talking about that. What you're talking about is, especially for people's retirement. This is the real stuff. You can go and see it if you want to go and see it. And that is probably, now listen, nothing is foolproof, right? You never know what the government's going to do. You never know. I mean, when we're in chaotic times, there's always uncertainty, but
we do know enough to seem to know what they're going to do. Maybe not specific action, but it's going to be to continue to coordinate more power for itself, which means it's more power away from you.
Yes. That, I just talked to a friend who's a financial advisor, and he just had, he had an investor who literally cleaned out their they took everything out of the stock market, and he's moving it into,
so it was Warren Buffett.
Yeah. Metals and land. And this, my friend said to me, he said, this is what he's like, I couldn't believe it. He said, and this guy's probably a Democrat, and, so he's really worried about Trump and what's going on in Washington, DC. I am equally worried with the cronyism there. But he said, listen, I'm watching them conduct insider trading. I'm watching them like hand each other money, it's criminal. And the Biden, administration was criminal, and it's in our face now. It's just all out there. the trillions and trillions of dollars in contracts that the tech bros in Silicon Valley are going to get when they, shut down government operations and then automate everything or digitize everything or make everything AI is like astronomical, right? And we know they've already told us that they're not cutting the deficit, and they're going to continue the spending. So they're really just handing each other cash, right? Tons of cash, your dollars, printing more. And then the investor class, the billionaire class, they're taking those dollars and they're buying gold and land and physical things. Like this is, and so it's really just enough Americans like you and me, because I'm just a girl trying to get a nut right in the world. I'm not anything special. Like the more of us who wake up and see what is going on, the safer you're going to be. And so this is why we talk about this so much,
Yeah. It's your financial autonomy.
Yeah.
As long as you get to have access to your money, and there's not some software update glitch that causes you to not, just anything like that. One thing about leaning on technology is a bridge that you're depending on can start creaking and showing signs of it breaking up before it just breaks.
Right.
You can think, hey, the bridge is making some funny sounds when we drive over it, and the engineers close the bridge. They do some strength tests, and they go, we got to close this bridge. We got to fix it. Software just breaks.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you a warning.
Yeah.
It just is out. It's all messed up.
Right.
It broke. It's been hacked. It's out. Like, there's no one like, hey, we see the hackers coming. The British are coming. We can see the ships on the horizon, right? You get a warning. When in the software tech world, you don't get a warning.
No,
Hackers
you
just
don't.
Gone. Like, wait, we got hacked. We didn't see the hacker coming. So when you look at your money is in that world that the government and corporate world has created around your money, and now your money is immersed in that. You're leaving that world. When you leave that world, when you get out of the dollar-based world, you've left it. Now, you think real estate, someone's got to live. What if no one's working? So they're not paying rent. Like, what's the value of that if you can't resell it for what you paid for it?
Right.
Or if you look at real estate being perhaps 33, inflated by a factor of 33, if you bought some for $1 million and it's really only worth 30 grand.
Yeah. I'm dying to get into real estate, but I can't.
Gold and silver isn't that way. It's not inflated because of the inflated dollar.
Yeah.
Like real estate would be.
Yeah. And right now, and gold is probably going to go up, but Peter Schiff just mentioned, silver is the people's metal, man. When the billionaire class gets in there, they start gobbling up all the gold, and the value is going to go up. So if you're in metals now, then you're relatively safe. But more and more people are going to, I think, see the writing on the wall, and that's when you want to look to silver, and it's kind of a bargain right now. But let's go back to the questions, because we have another one. Be My Valentine. This is a good one. And I say this because I had to kiss a couple frogs before I found Colonial Metals Group and Paul Stone, and this amazing company that never hires jerks, and they're just wonderful to work with. And I did work with some companies that had, like, I don't want to say they were questionable, but they were aggressive. There was I sensed a very kind of, sometimes manipulative sales technique. And I just wasn't crazy about them. I've had other, gold companies that I worked with. And so one of the reasons I'm just so thrilled with our relationship and the ability to work with you guys is because it really was a perfect match for me and the type of company that I really like. One of the things I worry about, this question is, what percentage of life savings do you typically recommend investing in gold and silver, especially for retired elderly people, right? Who right now are vulnerable. They really don't understand. Many of them don't understand kind of the digital revolution, but they're sitting on. I mean, their life savings are incredibly vulnerable with the volatility that we're seeing. So how do you navigate that? And what do you recommend to people who are older? And I know that this is not financial advice, right? But this is, we worry about our elderly folks who are on fixed incomes, and they're depending on that. And when the inflation goes through the roof, they really suffer.
And guys, we just gotta, and Shannon, we gotta understand that inflation has already gone through the roof. That's what 97% of your dollar's death is. It's the measurement of, how bad has inflation been?
Right.
So think of something, just simply used to cost $1, and now it costs $33. That's inflation.
Mm-hmm.
It was driven by your government deciding that realizing it couldn't solve a damn thing, so it just threw money at the problem.
Mm.
And the design of the political system is one day I'll just leave before it all busts. I saw a senator, on a talk show a couple months ago, and I, on the TV, I just took my phone and zoomed in and recorded the video of it.
Yeah.
He's like, we're near the cliff and I don't want to be here when we go over it. It's like, and he's probably a great guy, wanting to be a great American, a great leader and representative of the Constitution and such. But that's still the mindset, is the lowest common denominator is the politician just he or her doesn't want to be there when it busts.
Right.
So that means they aren't managing anything well, because the opposite of that would be, I want to be here when we get to take credit for saving America from these perils, from this turmoil, from this bankruptcy. That would be the opposite of what he said.
Yeah.
And so the design of the government is that they can't actually solve your problems. They can only create them.
Mm. It's so true. These are basics. It's really interesting right now. I'm really getting back to the basics right now, Paul, because
that's where you got to go, right?
Yeah.
The offense wins when it goes where the defense isn't. The defense is up in all the symptom world, where all this how's it going to go? What are we doing next? What's going on now? They said this, now that's happening. Just go, where can you get away from all that confusion? You have to find clarity, right?
Right.
It's hard to be a depressed individual or feel anxiety if you can add, I'm not giving psychological advice either, but if you can add clarity into your situation, confidence comes immediately when you go, oh, that's the way to go. Oh, it was the second light. That's where we turn. It's boom. As soon as clarity is in you, bam, confidence comes and anxiety can go away. I think it's the ultimate uncertainty killer is clarity. How would you find clarity? Well, my money's in gold and silver. I at least know it's mine. I know it's rare and scarce. I know it's not printed by the government. I know it's not money today.
Right.
But if it ever were again, oh my God, thank God I have it. It's a store of value that goes higher as the dollar goes lower.
Right.
And the dollar goes away and mad, ultimate, crazy chaos is what happens, which mathematically is what
it's going to
happen. Then gold and silver could be worth more than Bitcoin and Ethereum.
And it will for a while.
It's limited and tons of money come after it. So when people say, well, how much should we get? Sorry to belabor.
That's good.
We turn that back on people. We go, okay, so gold doesn't cause cancer, doesn't cause your hair to fall out, doesn't cause heart attacks, doesn't cause arthritis, doesn't have any health side effects. So having a bunch of it won't, as far as we've known for thousands of years, be bad for you.
Right.
And I can get out of it with a phone call. Historically, gold and silver is as liquid as the call you made to get it.
So easy. I've actually done it before. It's so easy. It's so easy to turn. But like I said, with these, all these states moving towards transactional gold, which is like this just brilliant, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be easier and easier to act. Oh, Shannon, you can't buy a loaf of bread with gold. Well, technology can be really
buy
good.
That with stock in the grocery store chain either.
Right.
I know. Can you bring Kroger's and spend Kroger's stock at the grocery store?
Right. You're like, oh, here's my 401k. Can I buy a loaf of bread with my 401k? Like that's, but I think actually though, with this technology which is good, I think we are very close to being able to buy a loaf of bread with actual metal that is held in, an insured state depository, very decentralized throughout the country. And so I can see that happening in the very near future, because we're very close to this. I mean, it's Ides of March. I don't want to say anything. I hate the Ides of March. I hate mid-March. I'm like, this is when all the crap goes down. And so I'm always like this during Ides of March, waiting to what's going to go down. But I've been watching this for 12 years. It just seems imminent to me.
Yeah. 3 penny dollar, losing 2 pennies a year. If you're trying to track something, well, where are the breadcrumbs? Well, Warren Buffett, has sold, we've all read, mostly all of his stock positions. He seems to be in 80-90% cash. Why is that?
Warren.
Why is he taking advantage of the Trump bump or whatever? Because he's not, he said there's no bell that rings at the top.
Yeah. The writing is on the wall.
Right. So he's just leaving early. You win if you're early. When's the best time to get to the sporting event? Early. Right? All that traffic. When's the best time to leave a sporting event if your team's down 30 points? Early.
Yeah.
Beat the traffic.
Well,
so back to that question.
Yeah.
the investment world seems to put in print 10 to 20% of your holdings in gold and silver as a hedge. But then when you think, okay, if it all goes bust, 80% of my money just vanished because it was in the dollar. Like if they leave, if this strategic crypto reserve is the real conversation starter on getting the human race to familiarize itself and normalize that, well, crypto's here to stay, it's coming. When the day comes that they cut us over, if that happens, to a federally issued crypto dollar, we kind of got used to the idea and we don't protest so much. Mm-hmm. They may have learned from you guys protesting COVID. Hey, we better slow the roll and kind of indoctrinate people into the routine of this for a few years before we just cut them over. Right. Maybe that'll mitigate how loud people bitch about what we've done. So you'd say it's just to the kind, lovely person who asked this question, it's kind of on you. You're just so if you just said, well, I'm going to freeze my money. Great. It's now in the freezer. And you think, well, I'll just have to thaw it out when I want to get to it. So your money's not in a freezer, it's in a depository. It's not in a dollar, it's an actual metal, right? Or it's in a safe at home, or both. Yeah. So whatever percentage if your finances are not in alignment with your beliefs, how much money do you move to gold and silver? So if you feel comfortable that your money, where it's positioned, is now in alignment with your beliefs and concerns about things. Right. It's a good one-on-one conversation to have with one of us non-jerks on the phone. Give us a call and let us talk about it more with you. They're lovely people. I've worked with so many that really. I hope not hiring jerks is not discrimination either. Are we supposed to hire jerks? Are we supposed to have like 1 to 10? Yeah. Is there a ratio? We created the Colonial Metals Group tagline right here in the Shannon Joy Show. Colonial Metals Group. We don't hire jerks. We don't. Yeah. They really just they answer all of your questions. First of all, I've actually been moving a lot of cash over to metals. I do it with you guys, and I'm doing it more and more. I'm more and more comfortable in actual physical metals. But when I talk to people, I'm an all of the above kind of gal, and I've always been just naturally like, I don't really love the stock market. I do really feel like the stock market is pretty manipulated. So I have a little bit in the stock market and I just expect to maybe lose that. But I tend to think, a little bit of cash, a little bit of gold and silver, a little bit of land and real estate, and then a little bit in stocks. And so I kind of divvy it all up. I'm less and less in the markets now than I ever have been, and more into, and like I said, I love to buy land, but it's just so overpriced right now that it's just, I have land though. I do have land. Good. Secret location with an airport. We have an airport. Yeah. If we needed a quick getaway, if I had to like disappear myself and make a quick getaway up to Canada or something, I could do it. Huh. We have pilots too. Sweet. Full prepper. Yeah. We have more questions. Let's go to commercial break. You have time, right? You're with me the whole show today? Yeah. No hard outs? Okay, good. Let's go to break. And when we come back, we're going to have some more questions. Annie, if you want to take a look on X America News, on Twitter and on Facebook, on the chats, and see if we don't want to miss any of our viewers. Well, I think we're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X America News. Make sure you grab those if there are other questions. And hey guys, your questions are great. I see them. We're going to get to them in a minute. Please put them in all caps though, so that I spot them. We'll be back in a moment with our good friend Paul Stone of Colonial Metals Group.
When things go sideways, will you be ready? Meet the new Patriot Power Generator 1200, a solar generator that's lightweight with more capacity and more life cycles, and recharges twice as fast, all at a fraction of the price. In a blackout, power lights, TVs, medical equipment, even your fridge. No gas, fumes, or noise. It's safe to use inside your home. This is about peace of mind. To learn more about this amazing generator and get your free solar panel, go to Patriot TV store and look for the solar generator banner.
Hey everyone. So what is scarier than a storm or a blackout? Being completely cut off. Alone. No phone, no internet, no way to reach anyone. This is why I trust sat123.com and their satellite phones to keep me connected no matter what. With a satellite phone from Sat123, it doesn't matter if you're out in the wilderness or caught in the middle of a disaster. This phone works when cell towers don't. It's the ultimate tool for staying in touch when everything else has failed. Here's the best part. Sat123.com is family owned, 100% committed to quality and reliability, and they believe in keeping you and your family safe wherever you are. Right now, if you go to sat123.com/joy, that is sat123.com/joy, and use the JOY promo code, JOY, for 10% off, you'll get 10% off your entire order, which is a phenomenal deal from an amazing company that supports the Shannon Joy Show. Be ready for anything. Stay connected with sat123.com/joy. Welcome back to the Shannon Joy Show. I bet you guys didn't know about my bug out location, did you? I see you on the live chat, Guitar Lily. Shannon, I'm crashing your bug out location. It is super secret, right? It's super secret. But yeah, I am convinced. I think that there is a direct relationship between preparedness and peace of mind. So being prepared is like everything. The more prepared you are, the less you worry, the less you fear, and then you don't do stupid things and make stupid mistakes. We do dumb things when we're afraid. And so that's why I'm thrilled to be sponsored by the amazing team over at the Satellite Phone Store. This is my satellite phone. I can't use it in here because you have to be outside to use it. But it's from the Satellite Phone Store. I set it up about a month ago. Super easy to set up. And this is what you use when there's a natural disaster, if there's an EMP attack, if the cell towers go down. Satellite Phone Store has an amazing service. It's so easy to set this up and to use these phones. And it gives you the peace of mind and also helps you to be a blessing to your neighbors. There's so many stories of people who have satellite phone stores in satellite phones in disaster areas where they are able to help friends and family and neighbors make phone calls to let people know that they're okay. In fact, there's a great story out of the Maui situation that Tina told the last time she was with me in the Joy Virtual Studio. It's just a wonderful way to have peace of mind. And for the Joy audience, the Satellite Phone Store is offering, it's an amazing deal. With a 1-year plan that you sign up for, they will give you a free satellite phone. You will get that completely discounted, and also a free Faraday bulletproof backpack. It's the same backpack that I sent my son down to college with in Baltimore. And this will protect all of your devices, laptops, phones, everything from an EMP, but it also protects you from EMF, electromagnetic frequencies that we know can impact health. So the Faraday products, dark bags products from Satellite Phone Store are amazing, and you get it for free. This is a huge value. You just have to go to the Satellite Phone Store, or I'm sorry, sat123.com/joy. That's sat123.com/joy. And I always get you guys the best deals. Like when I'm negotiating with these amazing partners, I'm like, you got to do a little better for the audience. You got to give them a little bit more. And they always do. So yeah, that backpack is a huge value. So thank you guys so much. Sat123.com/joy, sat123.com/joy. We have Paul Stone back with us, Colonial Metals Group, amazing partners with the Shannon Joy Show. And you are coming to Rochester, New York. I'm so pumped that you are coming to the Finger Lakes region of New York State and Rochester for the Summit for Truth and Wellness. What are you going to talk to? You're going to be on our panel with Aaron Day and Sasha Latapova. We're going to be doing the technocracy and then also finance, which you're going to be leading. Jeff Dornick as well, who is building a new platform, Pickaxe. But do you have your talk ready yet, or what do you think you're going to bring up? What do you think you're going to tell the audience on March 29th?
Yeah, I've been going around about what I focus on.
Okay.
Maybe 2 or 3 things. It'll always be, the basis of what I try to point out and illuminate is the most plain understanding of why something's happening to provide clarity without being, someone who, because in the world of economics, where they all have their shot, right? All the best economists, men, women, coming out of the highest ranked colleges, spending all their careers in economics. We have 36 trillion in debt and a 3-penny dollar.
Right.
So we can't go to that group think to find our solution, because from that group think is coming our problems.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the essence of how I kind of approach things. So it'll be inspirational, sure. Personally, individually empowering, because, if power is coming against us, then we need power to avoid that, sidestep that, make choices how we go, rather than just getting swept away from that by that power that's coming against us. So individuals
Yeah.
need to be strong.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, the most brilliant people I've spoken with, people like college professors and experts and this and that, whatever, and who will, I mean, they'll speak to you and like drop massive, like big words
Yeah.
and confusing,
Mhm.
confounding. They go down this rabbit hole and that rabbit. I have found that true brilliance, like true brilliance, is in simplicity. It is in being able to explain something complex in a way that people, like, that's actual intelligence from my perspective.
Yeah.
Memorizing a textbook and repeating back the talking points and the programming that you've been subjected to your entire life is not knowledge, and it's certainly not wisdom. And so I agree with you 100%. 100%. I have a question for you from the live chat. By the way, summitfortruth.com. Get your tickets right now. Paul Stone is going to be one of our featured panelists. You can meet him face to face. And I'll answer Bill Benz's question now. Bill Benz is always a little ornery on the live chat, but we love him. We love you, Bill. Bill wants to know, hey, Shannon, how come only pre-selected questions for the summit? I know you despise the Delphi technique. I do despise the Delphi technique. It also asks for a promo code. Is there anyone in particular? So summitfortruth.com is where you get your tickets. And so if you guys don't know, the Delphi technique is a way, if you want to manipulate meetings and manipulate forums by like only picking the questions that you want to ask and not letting
The Democrats always do.
Right, exactly. Right. When you go to like a town meeting and they have their preconceived like answer already, like they already have the plan. They just need you to like walk through the motions to buy in. So they give you a little, index card and they say, hey, write your questions. And oh, darn it, your really good question didn't get asked. And they did it on, we know the tricks, right? The reason we have to do pre-selected questions is I love you guys. You're great. But when the last time we did a Q&A, no one asked any questions. We had a line like 25 people long and they just got up. And once you put a microphone in front of a person who hasn't had one, we had filibuster after filibuster after filibuster. It was all about the people who wanted to, and I understand you want to get things off your chest, but we have really amazing speakers and guests there. We want it to be about them. So we will try to pick the most relevant questions. Nothing is off the table. You see Paul, he'll answer any question. He comes on here and, well, Bill actually has another question for you, Paul.
Okay.
So that's why we do the pre-selected. We would never get through everyone. I had to like wrestle microphones out of people. I'm always the moderator, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need like a hook to grab people to get them off. It's hilarious. But so Bill does also have a question about how you guys acquire physical gold. Like, so how does a company like Colonial Metals acquire gold? And then he got a little snarky. Why would you sell it for worthless dollars? I don't think they sell it. Do you sell your gold for worthless dollars, Paul? I don't.
So if you put your worthless dollars into gold when gold was lower, when gold's gone up, now you have more worthless dollars.
Right.
So it's like, in a way, the theory is, and certainly in actuality, but since we don't know what the future is going to hold, we know what the past tells us, but that isn't necessarily a prediction of what the future holds. But in the past, as the dollar died, your gold went up. So you always, whatever buying power, if you came into gold and the buying power of the dollar was 12 cents, and today it's 3.
Yeah.
Then your gold has theoretically risen by enough or more than enough to keep those dollars you put into gold with the buying power of 12 cents, as the current dollar today, not in gold, has the buying power of 3 cents.
Right.
It continues to die because the government continues to print. And then the other question was where it's newly minted from sovereign mints. We get our gold and silver from sovereign mints.
Okay.
And one of the things, just to pique your curiosity in our thought world, is one suggestion, and lots of folks even come to us and say, I want gold and silver from outside the US.
Interesting.
I don't want to marry up my dollars with federal mint coins and bars. Why would I want to continue to line my money with the Fed when it's the Fed that's causing me to have to go to gold and silver?
Interesting.
And so the British mint, the oldest mint on the planet, the Australian mint, Perth mint in Australia, so British Perth, Canadian mint.
Okay.
And, if they do something wonky with gold or money in their country, great. Your gold and silver is here in America in a depository or safe at home.
Right.
But if the US were to do something wonky with the gold and silver they've, generated, then maybe you're still kind of married to the outcomes of their choices. And
right.
When have those choices been good for you in the last 30, 40 years?
Yeah. It's really interesting.
Why haven't you guys, instead of the protests, when was the last time the Finger Lakes region of New York threw a parade for the government and all of its choices?
Never.
We even have a holiday for celebrating Great Government Choices Day?
Never. Doesn't happen.
No one's even proposed that, but you can have Women's Day and Short People's Day and Tall People's Day and Single Guy Day and, all these days.
All the single ladies. Yeah.
But we can't celebrate your government's decisions day.
I have a feeling we're going to have to protest again. I have a feeling something's coming and, they're
protest by dropping out. That was that cool thing in the 60s. It was drop out.
Yeah.
Or drop out and tune in or whatever the saying was. So in a way to protest is perhaps you stop participating with their charade.
That is a critical point. That is what they fear the most, is that we, the people, just completely ignore what the federal government is doing.
How many people got the jab?
Build up. That's right.
There's your ratio.
Yeah. Yeah. They're about 35% of us that resisted and said no. And that's going to be the backbone, I think, of America that rebuilds the parallel infrastructure. And by the way, the Summit for Truth and Wellness is 100% to benefit Americans for healthcare alternatives. So that is a grassroots, localized movement here in Rochester, New York. I know the girls, we've been working together for many years, and their mission is to build a wellness center, a brick and mortar wellness center, parallel system right here in Rochester, New York. And so every single penny, your ticket sales and anything that we raise on the day of the event goes 100% to AFA. And we really appreciate Colonial Metals Group and you, Paul. By the way, Paul, it's a lot of money to put this event on. We're flying a bunch of people in. We have a ton of production, the venue, and, putting everyone up with the experts. And I'm always sweating because it's like ticket sales have to cover our expenses. And then we're trying to raise money. And it's like, I'm like, please just get your tickets. Please just let us know, because we know what we're dealing with. And it's always worked out, but it's just been really stressful. So you guys need to know that Paul just, came in and sponsored a good portion of our expenses. So Colonial Metals Group is sponsoring a good portion of the summit, and we couldn't do it without them. That we couldn't bring the show to you guys on a daily basis without your partnership. But he didn't even flinch. I'm like, yeah, we have the summit, and you're just like, hey, how can I help? And this is like the kind of people that they are. So thank you very much for taking care of some of those expenses. It's going to be an amazing day.
Yeah.
And
it's going to be sunny too, and probably in the 60s and no snow or rain.
Well, March in New York is super fun. And we got the lake effect thing going, and, but I have been known through sheer will to bring in the good weather, right? So Be My Valentine, a holistic wellness center would be worth its weight in gold. Absolutely, Be My Valentine. I agree. I have another question for you. Oh, we have some more. Yeah, I missed a couple. All caps, guys, put your questions in, and we have some here. Mark the Reagan. Oh, from Twitter. How do I know? Hey, Twitter. Glad to see you all on the Twitter audience. How do I know when to sell my gold and silver? Good
Yeah,
question.
great question. Yep. The exit is elusive, right? For humans, we can get into Vietnam. How do we get out? We can get into Afghanistan, and how do we get out? And we can get in all these things. It's easy for us to find us in things we didn't even know we were getting into. And then how do we get out? How do we get out of that tough relationship? So the exit seems to be elusive for human beings.
Yeah.
So you
I
go back to the
fine.
purpose. So you think, well, gold and silver, is it a purpose-driven place for my money? So when the wind stops blowing and all that craziness going on above the surface, if gold and silver is your financial bunker, when the wind stops blowing, you kind of peek out and go, is it any more? Are we in the eye of this thing, or is it over? Right.
Yeah.
And if you feel like the storm is over, then you start coming out of gold and silver.
Yep.
You think of it as a bridge. When you can call us and say, hey, do you think, is there anything that indicates to you that, like mathematically speaking, that the need for gold and silver is over? And we can discuss it. None of us have that crystal ball. None of
Right.
us are claiming to be, financial experts. But that's the cool thing about gold and silver. It just has a purpose to it. Have it before there's chaos. Chaos is over. Let go of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been thinking about you as I mentioned. I'm hoping that there will be bargains for
And
real
this is
estate.
still pre-crisis.
It is right, exactly.
This is the bailout realm where the
Yeah.
money printing keeps you from feeling the holy hell that
Yeah.
kicked off in 08.
Right. Right.
So,
Here's another question, Mark the Reagan. Well, and I'm going to ask you about Fort Knox, but let's get to Mark the Reagan first. So if we drastically cut government spending, it will never happen. But okay, well, let's play. Let's
Yeah.
play Mark the Reagan. If we drastically cut government spending, would we have a deflationary collapse? Is the question.
So this is where I suggest, and great question, and I'm honored to be thought of as someone that has any value at all. So I'm grateful for anyone asking a question, thinking I might have something of value to respond with.
You
And my
do.
response to that might be a little indirect, but I'd say this is why I say look at money as energy.
Okay.
Stop looking at it binary or as you're used to thinking of it as money when you give some to the cashier.
Right.
You think of it as energy, then what does it power? Doesn't it even power the people drilling for energy?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it power the electrical grid for people mining Bitcoin and spending all that electricity and supercomputers to go after Easter egg hunts for money?
Right. Right.
So what is that? So if the government put forward $7 trillion worth of energy, that's Biden's last budget. Trump will get his starts in the fiscal year ends in September. The federal fiscal year begins in October. So that'll be his first budget, Trump's. So if they're shoving $7 trillion worth of financial energy into your economy, and then next year they send only 5,
Right.
a lot of your economy is not getting lit up like it used to. And that's what I was saying. If Shannon's bakery had 10 people and the government gave her 3, and she didn't even have to pay them, feed them, nothing, she can produce 30% more donuts, right? Bakery
Right.
stuff.
Free money, baby.
Yeah. So then she could free up money for advertising. Maybe she even fires 3 of her workers and keeps the 3 that shouldn't cost her anything. She drops back to 10.
Yeah.
But she has a lot more money to spend on advertising and all this other stuff, right? Maybe she can open a store in another town so she can expand. And then they take those 3 workers away. She's like,
Right.
So that's where we're stuck. That's how there's just absolutely no substantial change without substantial pain.
Right.
And that's why I'd say you don't want to be there. You either just go to zero, hyperinflation, dollar is a tenth of a penny, half a penny, quarter of a penny. Hyperinflation kicks off, the kind that economists have illustrated. The way they illustrate how severe hyperinflation is you would have to have the Fed raise rates to 40%.
Oh my word.
40.
Oh my word.
Not 4 or 10 or 12,
Yeah.
40. You are literally choking the economy completely out. It's just like dangling.
Grinding to a halt is what it feels like. It feels
Stopping,
like
there's no one's doing nothing.
No one's doing nothing.
You're just hoping they're still supplying gas to, you wouldn't even be able to afford it. So that's where the whole thing just stopped. So it's either that's the bust we mathematically are marching toward at the direction of the Fed and the government, or you start cutting and say, can we chunk this out and embrace our pain in chunks that we decide to make happen or allow to happen, And then we get past that chunk, and then let's deal with the next chunk to where, yeah, the government's doing a
Right.
trillion.
But they're not going to do that. I mean, they're
I
signaling
know
that.
they're not,
They're
because
not
it
gonna
means
do that.
not supporting retired people.
Right. Well, and this is why Ed Dowd, the last time he was on my show, we're gonna get him on again.
Yeah, get him on with me. I had the luxury and pleasure of joining him on the Jimmy Dore show recently.
No way!
He was
Oh
the
my!
most insane. Because what was so cool is I'm this goofball farmer, plain stated kind of guy. I'm not really goofy, but just a normal guy.
Right.
He's saying, "Yep, Paul, you're absolutely right. Yep, Paul, you're absolutely right."
Ed's he's a BlackRock guy. He's a dear friend.
Yeah.
In fact, I tried to get him to the summit. I tried so hard to get him to come to the summit. I didn't tell you guys about that, but I was like working hard. But he's in Maui. It's impossible to drag that guy over from Maui. He's like, who's going to leave paradise to come to Rochester, New York on March 29th? Anyway, the last time he was here, he said we would be better off with a recession or even a small depression than to continue what they're doing now. Like the pain, if we just kind of allowed this to happen, would be better than the continued centralization of power, but then also just, printing money and just driving, the interest rates up. So
just quick numbers on that.
Yeah.
When Biden took the White House, GDP, this is 2021, GDP was 19.4 trillion.
Okay.
So if you say, the economic output of America Incorporated for the year was $19.4 trillion. And when he left, it was 23.4.
Okay.
Right. So, 4 trillion in growth over 4 years. Like, at least we're growing. But then everyone hears the word deficit.
Yeah.
So deficit means the government got, just for even numbers, 10 trillion in bills and got 5 trillion in revenue. So the deficit was 5 trillion. They had to print $5 trillion to pay all the bills. So all the bills got paid.
Yeah.
Some of the money came in through taxes. What wasn't there in their bank account to pay the bills, they printed. The deficit between Biden's 4 years was 8.8 trillion. So they printed $8.8 trillion, folks, to get $4 trillion in growth. Is that growth?
We're so upside
Let's go
down.
back to 08.
Yeah.
08 to today. Debt back then was, I believe it was 10 trillion. Today it's 36. GDP was 15. Today it's 27. So they printed 26 trillion to get 12 trillion in growth. Is this clicking in now?
It's bad.
Actually not growth. It's actually just debt fueled to keep the energy is keeping things alive that need this financial energy. And the minute that resource of the dollar supplying the energy is at zero or half a penny, tenth of a penny, then it can't support. You could print $1 trillion a week and it wouldn't be enough to fire up the system anymore. And that's where it's all done. And if you're in the dollar, you're done. Mathematically speaking, not
crazy.
But that's how it lays out.
It's crazy. By the
way, they can cut.
Yeah.
But then you have old timers eating Alpo on a sidewalk.
No, we don't want to let that happen.
And the whole world, and get this is how I use this one point, and I'll shut up. But this is the one point I use to clarify for everyone that no one has been here before and no government is doing this right. The global government world has created 303 trillion in debt. So all of the governments in total have had to create $303 trillion in money out of thin air to pay those countries' bills over the last 25 years. Just since the year 2000. Because that's when retirement started happening in major numbers. So there's 914 million humans of the 8 billion humans here over 70.
Right.
900, almost 1 billion humans of 8 billion, 1/8 of our world generates lots of costs and needs, healthcare, eating, feed me, house me, pay me.
Yep.
That the government's in charge of those economies for the decades before they all retired.
Yeah.
Never addressed that someday there'll be this giant red side to our ledger, this cost side, and also losing production.
Right. Well, that was the bad deal of all of the entitlements. Yeah.
No, right. It was a good idea when there were 44 workers for a retiree in the 40s. Today, there's 3 workers for a retiree.
Yeah. Paul, we're gonna go. We're gonna run out of. We're gonna run. I hate to cut you off, but we are gonna run out of time. But everyone wants to know: is there gold in Fort Knox?
Probably.
There's
Yeah. No point to have sold it. It would have made a lot of noise to have sold it.
Okay.
So it's still there.
It's probably still there. Yeah. Interesting. This is a fascinating conversation as always. Real quick, anything you want to get off your chest as I let you go? And great questions today. We didn't get to all of them. But we got to most of them, and some of them were repeated, so I didn't have to ask them twice. So if I didn't read your question, then
call us and ask the questions yourself one-on-one.
Yes, they're not jerks. They're not jerks. They're great. They're just
call us. Hang up anytime. Just hang up anytime. Call anytime. Hang up anytime.
All right, my friend.
We're here to help.
Awesome.
But one thing I would get off my chest is the only reason I'm not trying to be a complainer or pointing out where whoever the hell is in power did wrong. I'm just illuminating that what they're doing isn't helping you. So you have to help you. So you help you. Live where your feet are.
Very wise words. And we appreciate you, Paul Stone. Follow him on Twitter. His handle is at _Paul Stone. _Paul Stone. And we're going to meet him in Rochester at the Summit for Truth and Wellness on March 29th. So get your tickets, summitfortruth.com, summitfortruth.com. And it's going to be an amazing event. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
God bless.
Okay. Have a great weekend. Okay. Guys, thank you so much for being with us today as we close out. I really just want to give a very special thank you to All Family Pharmacy. This is an amazing company. And like all the amazing sponsors that you see on the Shannon Joy Show, you know I vet them very carefully. I don't hire jerks for sponsors here on the Shannon Joy Show, like Paul. And the All Family Pharmacy is providing such a needed and wonderful service to so many Americans. It is the prescriptions you need and the drugs that you need. You can buy them in bulk from a pharmacy that isn't going to play political games. It is so amazing to have that peace of mind. And you can get it at All Family Pharmacy. And they're going to be sending people in to meet all of you on the show as well. So that's going to be super fun. You guys are amazing. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And thank you to all of our sponsors. Make sure you sign up for the Shannon Joy Show email, theshannonjoy.com, theshannonjoy.com for my daily email blast. Thank you to Annie for producing the show this week and all of our broadcast and podcast sponsors. You guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back on Monday to do it all again right here on the Shannon Joy Show.